Evaluate the expression for a equals -4, b equals 3, and c equals -2. And so here we've got a lot of things going on in this expression, so we want to be really careful when we do our substitute step before we start simplifying, just to be sure everything gets into the right place. So remember, when we evaluate involves two steps. It involves a substitute step, substitute, and it also involves a simplify step. So be sure that you take one step just to do the substitution part before you start simplifying, because otherwise there can be trouble here. I'm also going to jot down over on the side our little order of operations diagram, because that's certainly going to come into play. Okay, so let's do our substitution step. So each variable I'm going to isolate in its own little set of parentheses. I'm not putting in any numbers, any signs, any exponents with it, just the variable itself. And then I'm going to start doing my substitution. So let's rewrite this down here. There's my fraction bar. So I'm going to start off with the opposite of b, and they told me that my b value is 3. So in those parentheses I'm going to put that 3. Okay. Now we're going to be adding a to that. And so for my value for a, we had -4. And so inside the parentheses where the a used to be, I'm going to replace it with that -4. That's the value for that. And then in the denominator, we have a 2 times, and it's going to be multiplied by the value of c. The value of c is -2. So inside those parentheses, I'm going to do my -2. And it was all being raised to the third power. So here's that substitution step. Really important that we do that one step, just one step at a time, to get all of those pieces together. Now we can begin to simplify. So for our numerator, let's do the numerator first. Remember that this works, this division bar, this fraction bar works as a grouping mechanism. So that groups my numerator values together, and it groups my denominator values together. So let's focus on the numerator here. Here we have the opposite of 3. Well, we know the opposite of 3 is just -3. -3 plus -4 is going to give me -7. So that's going to be my numerator value. In my denominator, I've got a few more things going on. I've got multiplying and I've got exponents. And we know from order of operations we need to do exponents before we do the multiplying. Don't be tempted to do the multiplying first just because it comes first. We have to do the exponents first. So -2 is in parentheses, so that means -2 times -2 times -2, and when we multiply that out, that gives us -8. So -8 is what I get when I take -2 and raise it to the third power. But remember that 2 has to get multiplied by that -8, so I want to keep that -8 in the parentheses. So when I bring down the 2, that multiplication that was there is still showing up there. Now we can take our final step. Our numerator stays -7. We already simplified that. And in my denominator, I have 2 times -8. Well, we know a positive times a negative is a negative, and 2 times 8 is 16. So we've done most of the work, but we still have one more step to do. We want to be sure that this fraction is in its simplest form. And certainly 7 and 16 have no common factors, so there's nothing we can do with the 7 and the 16. But we can do something with these negatives. If I have a negative over a negative, I know a negative over a negative is always going to give me a positive. So our final answer is going to be a positive 7 over 16. And because it's positive, remember, we don't have to write the plus sign if we don't want to. We can just write our final answer as 7 over 16, and that's going to be our final simplified answer.